Hello. I don't know why I did that. That sounded like I was on the phone to like my mum or something. Hello. Hello, and welcome back to the Alizee Easy Show. I am your host, Alizee Easy, and today I'm joined by Rachel Oates,
Hi.
fellow YouTuber. We are doing yet another episode of our Great Gilmore Girls Rewatch. I've still not thought
Mm,
of a snappier title for it.
Don't ask me about titles. I'm useless at them.
It's hard, isn't it?
Yeah.
So this episode, episode 3, it's called Kill Me Now, and it's basically about Rory playing golf with Richard.
It is, but it's also about so much more.
Let's get into it. Let's get into it. So, oh, have you been up to anything?
Oh God, only taking Bethany Beale's ultimate sex course for Christian women. I have
Yay.
been telling you all about this for the last day, haven't I? But
Mm-hmm.
I don't know when this is going out or if my video on it will be out yet, but it is an experience. It's so for like people who don't know, Bethany Beale is one half of Girl Defined. You know, the like cringy Christian sisters who like are all like anti-feminist, incredibly homophobic, transphobic. They're all like, yeah, traditional gender roles and full of like, all the time. Bethany streamed her wedding live on YouTube. It's all
Did
very odd.
she?
Yeah,
That's a bit embarrassing, isn't it?
I know. And it was her first ever kiss that got live streamed.
What? Between her and us? That was the first time they ever kissed.
That was her first ever kiss.
Oh, now I just feel really sad.
Mhm.
Oh,
She was,
oh. Did they even know how to do it? Was it his first kiss?
I'm not sure about that. I don't know if they've been public about that.
Slag. The husband, that is, not her. I'm joking, I'm joking. But still, if that wasn't his first kiss either, then that's a double standard.
Yeah. It was very awkward to watch and it was weird. But she was like 30 years old at the time. So she was like our age. And she finally had her first kiss. And then she was all like, oh my God, marriage is so wonderful. It's so perfect. Being married is like the best thing ever. And then, like, 6 months ago, her husband came out and was like, yeah, for the last 4 years, I've been miserable and I was thinking about suicide and it's been awful. And she's like, yeah, okay, maybe it wasn't as good as we thought and it's been really difficult. But now everything's great and I'm going to teach you how to have great sex like me. And she's selling this course for like $160. Oh, it's $169 that everyone keeps laughing about because they're like, do you think she did that intentionally? But I got a discount code and I got it for cheap. So I paid like 80 quid for it. And yeah, it's an experience. It's very odd.
Yeah, because I saw that stuff about her husband on, I think, Reddit of all
Mm.
places. And obviously I was vaguely aware of Girl Defined, but I can safely say that I've never sat and watched a video of theirs because I don't want to torture myself,
I
you
have never
know?
envied you more.
I stay away from that because I know that, like, their lifestyles and my lifestyle just are in no way compatible in the slightest. So I tend to stay away from, well, I tend to stay away from any like religious dogma
Mm.
regardless. Like, no
It's
matter the religion, I stay away from all of it.
it's interesting you say that though, because Bethany is kind of it's almost like she's deconstructing in real time. We're seeing her push back against purity culture, which she has been a part of perpetuating for so long. And she's starting to push back against it and say how it's harmed her and how it's harmed other people. She's literally got people in this course talking about how purity culture messed them up and caused so much damage and trauma. And now she's like, asking these questions of like, oh, so like, why did we never talk about like female pleasure during sex? Why did we never hear about orgasms? Why is this never the focus? And she's asking these questions that feminists have been asking for decades, and that feminists have been like pushing back against for decades, and that feminists have been trying to be like, no, we're making this change. We're trying to like, get people talking about this stuff, get women to be more focused on in certain like scientific studies and things like that. And Bethany's finally starting to ask these questions, but she's not giving herself the feminist label yet. She's still being like, yeah, but we're not like those secular feminists. This is different. And I'm like, why are you still making that distinction? It's interesting.
Do you think there's hope for her then?
I don't know. That's the thing. Because like her husband Dave, he's been showing like a ton of progress as well. And like he's been going to see like an actual licensed therapist, not just a Christian counselor. So he's been doing a lot of work there. He said that like if their kids grow up and they end up being like atheist or anything like that, he's like, yeah, no, I totally support them. That's fine. And that's stuff that we haven't seen from anyone in that family before. So I don't know, I kind of do have some hope for them. But at the same time, just because there's a little bit of hope, that doesn't necessarily erase all the harm they've done in the past, you know?
Well, that was going to be my next question, actually. Like, say
Mhm.
she does start to reject purity culture, maybe not, because you can be a Christian and be a perfectly normal person. One of my best friends, she's a Christian and she's a
Absolutely.
normal human being, you know.
Yeah.
But imagine like Bethany starts to reject the more extreme elements of it and just becomes a normal,
Mhm.
rational person, turns it all around. Um, is it, maybe it doesn't erase all the harm done, but isn't it better that one does become better? Like, can you,
Mhm.
I know she and her sister have done a lot of harm, but I wonder, when people start to turn it around, should the audiences still punish them, or should you reward
Well,
the good behavior?
that's the thing. I think if she did turn it around and she did start to use her platform to literally correct so much of the damage she's done, I would support that completely. I
Mm.
know a lot of people wouldn't because they'd be too mad at her, but like if she suddenly started realizing, oh crap, that stuff I said was transphobic, let me now speak out about like, supporting trans people, I'd be like, yes, you do it. Good job.
Mm.
So stuff like that. But it also can't just be like half measures. At the minute, she's nowhere near there. She's just kind of just edging towards the like white cis hetero feminist stuff. She still has
Mm.
a long, long way to go, But progress is progress.
I don't envy her really, because if she does come back to rational thought, that's going to be an absolute minefield, because this is the conditioning she's had for what, over 3 decades. Like, her entire
Yeah,
life has been
yeah,
these women are conditioned into, you've got to have a husband and you've got to have kids and you have to be this way and what's a clitoris and blah blah
yeah.
blah, like, so I don't, she's going to have a lot of, oh god, she's going to need therapy.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
she's already getting pushback from her family. Like she said in this video series that some of her family are embarrassed that she's now talking about sex online and she's making this course and stuff like that. And she's like, yeah, but that's just purity culture. That's what's happened to them. And I'm like, good that you're recognizing it and good that you're not letting it stop you. But also, she still has family members out there who are making similar content and, to that harmful stuff. And I don't know, it's interesting. I am very, very interested to see where she goes in the next like 5, 10 years.
It
It'll
sounds
be
like a
fascinating.
cult. Whenever anyone gets extreme, whether it's with religion or an ideology or even politics, it always turns into a bit of a cult. And as soon as you start to deviate, you're kicked out, you're isolated and alienated, which
Yeah.
that in turn stops people from trying to speak out or leave in the first place. I mean, with Scientology,
Yeah.
if you leave Scientology, you don't see your friends and family again because they're not allowed to talk to you. You get, what do you get? You get followed around by
Yeah.
Scientologists in their cars, like it's mad. In fact, that's the most I'm going to even say on Scientology, because I like, they're the only people that I worry about. They've got too
Yeah.
much money.
They are quite scary. And like the
Yeah.
amount of influence and stuff they have, I'm like, oh, okay. Um, but yeah, no, they're so the Baird family are kind of like IBLP adjacent. So they're
Mm.
similar to the whole like Institute of Basic Life Principles group, which are very cult-like as well. But if you look at do you know Stephen Hassan's bite model?
No.
It's okay, so it's this like model that he made, basically the characteristics of cults and how to identify cults and stuff like that. So the BITE relate to like kind of broad categories like behavior. Hang on, let me look this up so I'm getting this right. Yeah, behavior control, information control, thought control, and emotional control. And within those, you have different like specific techniques that cults and cult leaders use to control their followers, essentially. So if you look through this, a lot of what the church that Bethany's a part of employ a lot of these things. The IBLP employ a lot of these things. So, for example, under information control, you have stuff like minimizing or discouraging access to non-cult sources of information, including internet, TV, critical information, former members, all that sort of thing. compartmentalizing information into outsider and insider doctrines. Under thought control, you have things like encouraging only good and proper thoughts. Memories are manipulated, teaching thought stopping techniques, which shut down reality testing by stopping negative thoughts and allowing only positive thoughts. And under emotional control, stuff like promoting feelings of guilt or unworthiness, such as identity guilt. Your past is suspect, your affiliations are unwise, your thoughts, feelings, actions are irrelevant or selfish. This is all stuff that these really like, I don't want to say like obsessive, but like these types of fundies, they all do this stuff, this idea that, you know, Bethany still to this day keeps using this phrase of sexually broken. We're all born sexually broken. And it's again part of this thing about like instilling guilt on people, especially women, for having sexual thoughts and feelings and making them feel ashamed of themselves. And yeah, it's interesting. Sorry, I could talk about this stuff forever.
I've been in 2 minor sales cults. I told you that.
Is this like one of the MLMs?
Well, one of them was an MLM, which like
MLMs is so cult like.
Yeah, so I was in one of those, and to be fair to me, they both happened within the same period of about a year. I got out of doing pub work and I didn't want to get like a normal proper job basically. So I was just being a bit silly. One of them was an MLM that I was never any good at because I wasn't good at the whole get your friends involved. Like I couldn't do it. So me and my best mate who also got into it, we literally quit after like a month or so. But the other one was like a minor sales cult where you work only on commission. These are very well known, actually. I think they originally came over from the United States. So there's loads of blog pages and blog posts about these like weird culty sales teams and stuff. You're on commission only. You get in the office by like 7:30. You don't leave until like 8:30. It's a lot of like B2C, so business to customer, whether that's like being, you know, the charity, they're called chuggers, the people, the charity muggers on the street who are sign up for cancer research, whatever. Well, a lot
I've
of
never
the charity
that before.
Chuggers, a lot of them are actually they actually do earn proper wages, but the ones who are on commission only, it's basically a cult. You're you're made to do like weird chants in the morning. Like there was one, and they all stand for something. They're all abbreviations, right? So like, is it abbreviated? No, it's not abbreviations. So there was one like called Juice, and I can't remember what it was called, but you'd have to kind of be like Juice, and like imagine me and my personality, and then imagine me at 8 a.m. right, like in this room full of like positive people. Imagine me just like. But I stuck it out for like I want to say like 2 or 3 months, and I barely made any money. And it's like I stuck it out because I really just didn't want to go. And they try to brainwash you a little bit. They try to say things like, yeah, you should be laughing at the people who work 9 to 5. So it's like, bitch, we're working like 10 to 12 hours. But what are you talking about? Laughing at the 9 to 5ers, calling them mugs, basically being like, you know, in a year's time we're all going to be business owners and we're going to be on like $6,000 a month and all this, and it's like a load of rubbish, right? And the
I could like check things off the buy model that you're saying right now.
Yep. Okay. So get this. And like, I always kind of, so these people, they prey on like, people who are either too idealistic or who are being, well, I don't want to say lazy, because like it's long hours and it's long days, but there is an element of not wanting to go down like the more established routes of working your way up in a business, right?
Not lazy, but unconventional.
Exactly. And I was never very good at it because I could never buy into the ideology because I'm too much of a jaded cynic, but I just literally didn't want to get a normal job, right? And we were told by the manager once around Christmas time, because this was over like, that period of winter, like about 3 months or so. We were told, when you go home, there might be people in your life who don't understand what you're doing because it's commission only, and they might think you're crazy. You should probably not listen to these people. And I was living with like my best mate at the time, and I think I complained about him. I'm always complaining about him anyway, but I complained about him like offhandedly, right, to one of my colleagues. And it was just a really offhanded comment, and it was nothing really to do with work. But one of my colleagues was like, it's really important the people that you hang out with, because it affects like your mental state and well-being, and maybe you shouldn't be around negative people. Maybe so like there's this weird isolation, right? Like don't listen, cut people off if they're saying bad things about what you do. And a bunch of the other co-workers lived with the manager as well, which apparently that's like normal, like to happen in these weird little sales calls. Yeah, so I did it for about 3 months, and then I went and got a job at a pub, and I was very happy.
I'm glad you got out of that.
Mm.
Have
I
you
was so much
seen
happier to actually have money.
what, being paid for your work? No, no, don't be silly. Have you seen the Amazon documentary on Lula Rose?
No.
It's like one of the MLMs with like a cheap clothing company and stuff, and like how cult like that got and stuff. It's really good. You should watch it. It's like 3 episodes or something, but yeah, it's intense. They do like cut you off and stuff, and they were giving women tips on how to do things like hide from their husbands that they were buying more inventory and stuff like that. And they were like, oh, like we'll ship it in these like discreet boxes in this discreet packaging. And here's how to hide it from your husband. Here's how to like cover up your bank statements. Here's like it's really messed up. Good times.
Yeah, great memories.
Great.
But I was about 22, so that's literally my excuse. I was about 22. Who doesn't get involved in a cult once in a while? Who cares?
Yeah. Well, my old mother-in-law tried to get me into a cult. I think I told you about this. Yeah.
Which one was that?
Adidam.
What's that?
Oh God, it's weird. You have this like weird guru called Adidar. He's dead now, but they still worship him. She literally has a shrine to him in her attic. And it was all about like following him and oh God, I don't really understand. She would like pray on this like rug in front of this like giant picture of him and like give him offerings of like flowers and stuff. And then like they'd go on retreats and stuff. But that was like the normal stuff. The messed up stuff was like there was a lot of weird sex stuff going on. Like,
Really?
yeah. So like this 15-year-old girl came to them and was like, oh, like I was sexually assaulted. What do I do? And so he was like, oh, okay, we need to get you over your trauma. So strip naked in front of this room of people and like perform oral sex on these 5 men.
No way.
Yeah, it was really bad.
Really?
And there were a ton of allegations like that and stuff. And my old mother-in-law literally at one point took her 2 kids, including her 12-year-old daughter, to a remote island to go to one of his retreats. And I'm like, a lot of these allegations were in the 80s. And then in the 90s, you take your 12-year-old daughter away from her dad to like be on this remote island with a known sexual predator. Like, what are you thinking? And she was like, oh no, it was all just a misunderstanding. Like, he's not that bad. He's not what people say. And I'm like, but you've heard of these allegations, right? You're not just ignorant. And she was like, yeah, and he says they're all untrue. And I'm like, of course he does. Anyway, it was really messed up. She tried to get me to join the cult, and I was like, huh, hell no. And she hated me after that. And it's kind of like, it was just one of many factors contributing to my breakup with Dan because his mother was insane.
Well, speaking of shrines, when I was like quite young, like 8 or so, I built a shrine in my room. I made a little shrine to
Keanu Reeves.
No, to aliens.
Oh,
and I'd leave little offerings of like apples and those drumstick lollies.
I love drumstick lollies.
I would leave the offerings, wait a few minutes, and then be like, well, I should probably eat them on your behalf. Because I thought if I had this little shrine, maybe I could psychically communicate with the aliens and get them to pick me up and get me the hell away from Earth.
Yeah, I see no problems with that.
That's a wild thing for a kid to be thinking, though. Like my childhood wasn't bad. It sounds like I had some weird hang-ups or something. No, my childhood was absolutely fine, but I was just desperate to like not be here.
Oh, bless. Well, I really believed in ghosts for a long time when I was a kid, and I used to do everything to try and communicate with ghosts and like look for signs and signals and stuff. And then I realized I was an idiot, so I stopped.
Yeah, I was never keen on ghosts. I didn't like them. No.
I quite like that idea that there's like energy that sticks around. You can communicate with the dead and stuff. And now I don't believe it at all, but I wish it was true. I think it would be really cool.
Do you know what I've stopped believing in?
Don't say lizard people.
No, never. No, 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 no. I mean, that's a given. Of course, of course. In a universe that's maybe infinite, then everything possible has happened. So on a planet somewhere, there's my beloved reptilians. No, I don't think that UFOs built the pyramids anymore.
Who are you?
I've grown up.
No.
Now, that doesn't mean to say I don't believe that. Like, maybe aliens could have been knocking around, and maybe they said to the pharaohs, "Do you know what'd be good, right? Build stuff like this, and we'll just show you how to." But I don't think the UFOs, like, gravitated big blocks and built the pyramids.
What changed your mind?
Just grew up, really. No, I've been listening to but what changed my mind is education.
I didn't want to say that, but
I've been listening to there's loads of lectures on Audible, and most of them you can get for free, and it's called the Great Courses, and they have like professors and experts and stuff do these series of lectures, and there's one on ancient Egypt, and I love Egyptian stuff, and also like crap, I can't remember her name, but like that's a YouTuber, and I went for lunch with her once. I forgot.
She's listening to this right now, really, really annoyed.
No, because I know her real name, but I've forgotten her YouTuber name.
Oh, okay.
Because she did a video about Creepshow art, and she was painting and stuff. Anyway, I went for lunch with her, and she like does archaeology, and she was telling me about like how there weren't any slaves in ancient Egypt. Actually, the whole Israelites being slaves thing it's in the Bible, but there's no historical records in Egypt to back that up, right? So it wasn't slaves who built the pyramids, it was all community service, because everyone was a farmer basically. So everyone chipped in, and they have records of people being like, good job today, Amenhotep's gang, or like something to the equivalent of that, right?
I heard that because like it's supposed to be like something that you need like quite a lot of dedication for, so it's like unlikely that you could have forced people to do it. It was people who like genuinely believed in the cause and everything like that, I heard.
Which isn't me saying that I don't think UFOs are knocking around, because there's definitely like there's this painting of the Virgin Mary.
That one.
Which one? Do you know what I'm talking about?
The one with the alien in the background. Or like the UFO.
There's one with like a UFO in the sky, and like they've painted a person looking up at it like that. So I definitely believe like UFOs have been around and are still around for sure. But yeah, like I don't in my heart of hearts, I don't think UFOs had anything to do with Stonehenge either.
Stonehenge is a really interesting one though, because they believe those stones were moved like really, really far.
Yeah, 200 kilometers.
They've done things like analyzing some of the old lichen on the rocks to see like where it came from, and it's like basically coast at the other side of the country and whatever. It's really, really cool.
It's interesting. I mean, it's a bit naff though, isn't it, Stonehenge, when you compare it to all the great pyramids across the world. Like our ancestors really just. I'm
not the one who keeps visiting it.
I've been only a few times. I can count on one hand how many times I've been. They keep updating it. They keep like adding bits to like nearby. Yeah, I kind of want to do I really want to do like my own ancient aliens-esque UFO show. Like hire a cameraman, just go around the country trying to search for like aliens, UFOs. And I'd love to do something at Stonehenge, but I think you'd need all sorts of permission. Like I'd love to just like camp near there. Maybe if I camped in a field and did a bit of UFO spotting,
I think you should go to Barnsley and interview people coming out the pubs about UFOs.
Barnsley? Why Barnsley?
Yeah. Just like proper South Yorkshire people. Barnsley's near where I grew up. I grew up in Penistone, and like our nearest big town was Barnsley, and it's rough as hell.
Do you think I'd fare well down there then?
Oh yeah, they'd love you.
I'm well hard, mate.
Just get like a bunch of chavs coming out of the pub, being like, "What do you think about UFOs?" Like, oh right. So my mate was out pub all the week and he saw this UFO and aliens. It'd be great. I'd love it. Please do
that. There's a I shouldn't laugh really, but it's funny. There's a show on Netflix about alien abductees in the UK. And you should watch it. I forget what it's called, but the little thumbnail on Netflix for it has this lady with like really mad hair. And she says that Like in the show, she says that she's been abducted like hundreds of times. Like she just went to the shops one day and saw some UFOs in the sky. She was with her mate, and they were on their way to get KFC, but then they didn't get the KFC because they got abducted. And it's like I love stuff like that, but I do think it's really funny, which is probably a bit bad of me. But
I think octopuses could be part alien. Or like if aliens exist and they're like anything on Earth, they're gonna be most like octopuses.
There's a whole Ancient Aliens episode about are octopuses actually aliens? There's also a whole episode about how insects might actually be aliens as well. Like they're really just going through the A to Z of everything and being like, right, can this be aliens? Tick it off. That's why I like, because people complain about Ancient Aliens a little bit, but I respect the hell out of it because I think it's so funny. I think like imagine looking at a building in like, I don't know, Whitechapel and being like, could aliens have done that? Like it's the equivalent of that every episode, you know? I respect the hell out of it.
Oh, what do you think? Could aliens have made you? I think so.
Yeah, she's an advanced life form compared to the rest of us, so sure, why not?
You get that little genius. Yeah. Explains why you're so needy as well, doesn't it? She's good. Oh, baby. Sorry. Shall we discuss Gilmore Girls?
Shall we crack on? So we have the open. Lorelai and Rory are at their Friday night dinner. I think so. Firstly, I think the comment Emily makes about Lorelai's potential, like being upstairs with some golf clubs that are like got dust on them. Yeah. I thought that was so mean and rude, and it was apropos of nothing. Came out of nowhere. It was so it was so bitchy. I did not like that at all.
I really struggleized. Where did that come from? I really struggled with Richard and Emily in this opening bit because, like, this is where we first get that running gag of like, oh, we're different maid cook person every week, whatever. But like, it's just so typical of those upper classes to view working class people as disposable and interchangeable, and that really, really bothered me. Like, I know it's a running joke throughout the series, but it's not one I've ever found funny because, like, being from a working class background myself, I'm like, well, that could very easily have been me. That could have easily been my mum. You know, like, I don't like them talking about like, you know, getting names wrong and stuff like that and not treating them as individuals. It's just like, oh, you could be anyone. And it's just such a rich thing to do. And it annoyed me. But then this is one of the things that makes me like Lorelai even more because she's the one who actually stands up for her and like asks her name and gets it right and stuff like that. And yeah, I like that about Lorelai. Oh, pardon you, baby. Okay. Yeah, you have a lot to say, don't you? You do. But I also got, oh my God, also Richard talking about his mum and being like, oh, you would have loved her. She was a great patron of the arts. She was known for her masquerade balls. And I'm like, yeah, but did she actually do anything useful than spend money?
Well, they talk about her in past tense, but Trix is alive. She appears late. Like that's Trix who they're on about. So I think I don't know. I think they redacted her being dead or something, or maybe she came back to life. Who knows? But I noticed that. I was like, why are they talking about her in past tense? Like she appears later on, and she's positively vile. She's awful.
Really, I don't quite remember her too well.
She's the really old lady. Well, they made her look a lot older than she actually was, obviously.
Yeah.
She's horrible. We'll get onto it later, I suppose, but she's very nasty to Emily, and it kind of explains why Emily is like so, you know, highly strung because she married into a family where like the mother just never thought that she was good enough. She didn't think, and Emily came from like a.
Is she a boy mom?
I'm not sure if it's I don't know. I don't know because she basically tells Richard to not marry Emily, and she says like that she should have married someone else. We'll get onto it later. I'm not sure if she's a boy mum. I think she's just like snooty AF.
Yeah. But yeah, so like the main kind of like I guess like setup for this episode, right, is that Rory's been told in school she needs to play a team sport And so one of her options is golf. How is that a team sport? Am I going crazy? Am I just missing something about golf here?
That's a good point,
Like,
actually.
I went back and rewatched that scene, and they say team sport, and then golf. Do you have golf teams? Is that a thing?
I don't know, because I don't like golf. I think golf is ridiculous. I think what you hit the ball and then drive after it. No.
And as Luke says, they're terrible for the environment. You have all these big open spaces that just guzzle up water that are filled with chemicals that wildlife isn't allowed to live on. Terrible.
Yeah, I'm not pro golf. But the argument that Lorelai and Emily both have about Rory's involvement, whether she should be tutored by Richard because Richard likes to play golf, I thought both of them were in the wrong because neither of them asked Rory. The Emily just assumed that she knew best, and Lorelai assumes that Rory wouldn't like something that she doesn't like, and neither of them bothered to stop and just ask her what she wanted to do. So I think both of them were in the wrong, and both of them were stubborn and annoying.
That's true, but I also think I could understand Lorelai's perspective a bit more because she was coming from a place of fear. Like, she was worried about losing Rory to these like rich people stuff, and how she'd want to like go fall into that like life of money and, you know, going to the club and whatever rich people do. And I think Lorelai was scared of Rory almost like enjoying that and becoming like her parents. And it's not like that's unfounded because that's exactly what happens.
But at the same time, the justification that Lorelai uses, where she's like, I know that she won't enjoy it. I know that she won't enjoy it. I thought was very flimsy because I did think when she was saying it, I thought, okay, but if she went golfing and didn't enjoy it, it's not the end of the fucking world that she had to spend 2 hours doing something she did like doing to hang out with someone that she actually does like. Like, that's just called life, babe. Like, what are you talking about? What do you think office work is? Do you think a lot of people enjoy going into an office? No. But sometimes, and I feel like I just feel like I understand like the ulterior motive of not wanting Rory to be like her parents, but this idea of, oh, but Rory can't possibly do anything that she might not enjoy for a few hours is a very like, it's why she ends up so spoiled, I think. You know?
Yeah, that's true. I think it was
like,
just like she was trying to make it a selfless excuse when really she was worried about things for her own reasons. I don't think she wanted to say the real reason, you know? So she had to like come up with something. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not a fan of anything that just involves watching rich people do rich people stuff. And that's why I like the inclusion of people like Lorelai and Luke in Gilmore Girls, because otherwise it's just rich people doing rich people stuff. Like all the scenes at the club, like it's cute to see Richard and Rory bonding and chatting and stuff, but all the like all the friends of Richard's at the club and everything, I'm just like, oh god, they're awful. They're just a bunch of creepy old men, and they're all just like getting off and being like, oh yeah, my granddaughter's cleverer than your granddaughter. My granddaughter's prettier than your granddaughter. I'm like, oh, shut up. Like, do something good in the world.
See, I thought the rich people stuff at the golf club was funny because it was just so inherently petty. Like the old dude being all, oh, that's my golf cart. It has been for the past 40 years. Okay, granddad, like chill out. Go back to bed, granddad. Or whenever they saw that woman being like, what an odious woman she is, and there's no explanation why. I just found all that stuff quite funny because it's like being at the zoo. You know, because it's about status, isn't it? Like the bloke being like, that's been my golf cart for the past 40 years and people should know it. It's status because these people are obsessed with how they appear externally to everyone, and they've been conditioned as such. So, you know, like Emily's existence is an incredibly petty one most of the time, down to what type of flowers should we buy to have for the drawing room or whatever like that. It's very materialistic. It's very far away from like our lives. But I kind of like to view it as like being at the zoo because it's so alien.
I'm fine with jokes at their expense and that's fine and everything, but at the same time I'm just like, it doesn't make me like those characters. This is why I really didn't like Emily for such a long time when I was watching. I really, really liked her character in A Year in Life. I thought she was great in that. Come on, baby, good girl. But in the first few series of just Gilmore Girls, didn't like her at all.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, it is interesting doing this rewatch, like seeing Rory's transition to spoiled rich kid is like so subtle. They actually did do a really good job of building it up. It makes sense.
Yeah,
It's not just like it came out of nowhere.
I think so too, because I think her whole arc in A Year in the Life makes sense. It makes sense that she's a bit
Mm,
of a loser because
yeah.
it just makes sense. But I don't know if that was the the writer's intention. I don't know if it was Amy Palladino's intention for Rory to be a bit
Mhm.
of a little bit of a, I guess, messy person. I'm not
Mhm.
sure. Um, but it is interesting how it's foreshadowed throughout because she ends up really
Yeah.
enjoying going to the club,
Yeah.
which
It-
I liked the moments of her bonding with Richard and them enjoying
mhm.
each other's company because I kind of feel like Rory felt drawn to Richard because Rory does not have a real father figure in her life. She doesn't. Like Chris is such a waste man. He's such a loser. He's not a father. He's a sperm donor in my eyes. He's never there for her properly, you know? So I think, she sees this strong patriarchal figure in the Gilmore family and she's like quite drawn to him and he her. I think
Yeah.
Rory was really seeking out some sort of father figure.
Oh, absolutely. And like their scenes are nice and it's sweet that they have this stuff to bond over. But also I understand why that makes Lorelai upset and why she's kind of a bit jealous of it because like
Mm,
she never had that with him. He never understood her. They didn't really have anything in common. And she probably wanted that kind of father daughter bonding, but they just didn't see eye to eye in the way that Richard and Rory do. So I get why Lorelai was really upset by it.
Oh, I understand why she was
Yeah.
upset by it completely. Like, I understand that she was very
Mm-hmm.
jealous because, like, wouldn't you if you didn't have a good relationship with one of your
Mm-hmm.
parents? And then, but at the same time, it's Lorelai's child who, towards the end, Lorelai. The difference between Lorelai and Emily is Emily, both of them were being a bit controlling in the beginning, but Emily at the end chooses just to be smug about being right, instead of being
Yeah.
humble about it. And whereas Lorelai matures and comes to accept that
Yeah.
maybe Rory enjoys being a progressive. Like, so, Lorelai shows a little bit of growth towards the end of the episode,
Yeah.
which is the difference between her and Emily, because Emily is just petty,
Yeah.
petty, petty, petty.
Yeah. I literally like I have in my notes. I was like, I hated how at the end of the episode Emily just had to rub Lorelai's face in it. It's clear that's where Lorelai gets her pettiness from.
Yeah, they're very similar people, but the
They are.
whole,
I didn't realize how many like sort of that in these first three episodes there've been so many like moments where you see them doing the exact same thing but just
mm,
in different ways, and there really are like it's like these parallels between them in the first couple of episodes. I didn't realize it was quite that obvious before. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
no, I was just going to say, Lorelai being jealous of Richard and Rory's blossoming relationship. Um, it's sad because she's a mum to her kid and she shouldn't be jealous, and they have that argument about boob sizes and swapping each
Yeah.
other's sweaters and stuff, and that feels way more sibling-esque and like
Yeah.
sisterly than it does mother-daughterly. And I think shows like Gilmore Girls are a good advertisement for just getting some damn therapy, because it's okay that she was
Yeah.
jealous because she can't have the same relationship with her father, and that's fine that she's jealous of it because that's human. But realistically, she should get some therapy to unpack her daddy issues and not take it out on
Yeah.
her kid who just wants to be closer to her grandfather.
I also wrote in my notes, and this might be a little harsh, but I was like, this is why kids shouldn't have kids. Because it's clear that, like, in a lot of ways, Lorelai is like emotionally stunted at
Mm-hmm.
16 when she had Rory, and they're
Yeah.
still there. She hasn't, I mean, she's grown up in some ways, but not others, you
Well,
know?
the way she has grown up, I really liked all the scenes with the wedding and the inn and
Mhm.
showing
Yeah.
just how like good and competent Lorelai is at her job. But I also liked so there was this subplot of there's this wedding going on at the inn and it's a set of
Mhm.
twins marrying another set of twins, which is just
Yeah.
okay, a bit strange. But I liked the
I
mum
love
of
Michelle's face when the twins first walked in.
I liked the mum of the
Mhm.
girl twins because she
Yeah.
says that they're being spoiled and she tells them off. And I swear it's like one of the only times that a mother in the show tells off her spoiled little children.
Yeah. And like at the end, she's like, oh, I'm celebrating. They're moving away from me.
Yeah.
It's funny because like that's a mother who wants her daughters to grow up and be independent and move on, which is literally the opposite of Lorelai and Emily.
Yeah, and
You know, like
well,
Lorelai is sad in this because she feels like Rory's drifting apart from her, right?
mm, mm,
And like essentially growing up and having more family and being more independent. Emily's furious because Lorelai decided to go off and do her own thing and be independent. And that's why Emily's mad at Lorelai.
yeah,
But in that case, you have a mother who is happy and celebrating that her kids are doing that. And it's interesting.
yeah. Especially if you what you just said, because
Mhm.
a lot of the episode, Lorelai kind of wants to hold Rory back from being her own person and accepting that Rory
Mhm.
might like the things that Lorelai ran away from. But she comes to terms with it a little bit more by the end of the episode. But I don't think she ever
Yeah.
truly comes to terms with it until we're talking the last season, like season 7. Because
Yeah.
even the whole Rory dropping out of Yale for a little bit, well, I don't agree with it, but it's Rory has that,
Mhm.
or like it's her right as a human to take a bit of, and she was taking a bit of time. I don't agree with her reasoning, but at the end of the day, taking a little bit of time away from school to just think about things isn't the end of
Mhm.
the fucking world, you know?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I think like Lorelai really struggles with Rory being her own person, but again, she would
Mhm.
do because she had Rory when she was what, 16?
Yeah.
She was 16
Her
when she
entire
had her.
adult life, she's had it there with her. Of course, she's
Yeah,
going to
so
struggle with it.
because parents who have waited until or not accidentally had kids at a young age, parents who are a bit older than that, maybe they're in their 20s and 30s when they have kids, they
Mhm.
struggle with a bit of they struggle with empty nest
Yeah.
syndrome, but it wouldn't be as severe as Lorelai and Rory, who have been like, that fingers
Yeah.
crossed since day one.
Yeah. What did you think about the weird subplot with Sookie and Jackson?
Oh, I had something in my notes about
It's
this.
it's a petty thing, but I'm completely on Sookie's side here. Blueberries are not strawberries.
Oh no, I'm on her side too. I mean,
Yeah,
but Suki often shows as a chef that she's so inflexible when things don't get her out. Like
yeah,
she's a
that's true.
control freak when it comes to being it's her craft, sure, but sometimes it's hospitality. You have
Mhm.
to be flexible because things will go wrong. Deliveries won't be
Yeah,
made on time. Like, I don't know, someone might fucking smash a bottle of champagne. That's hospitality.
yeah.
Like,
But in the same way,
but
Jackson was also very inflexible.
I agree with Suki in this because,
Mhm.
like, if she was making that shortcake for that day or the next few days, and then suddenly it's a change of plans at the last minute, you have to be flexible. But at the same time, I don't see why she should be begrudged from going to the grocers because that's what would happen if you were at a bar and a delivery of I don't fucking know some no not limes you wouldn't get limes delivered. Say a delivery of like soda didn't come through,
Mhm.
um just like the club soda that you have on the
Yeah.
little thing. Say that didn't come through because there was an issue with delivery.
Mhm.
I've worked in bars and pubs where you would have to go to the corner shop to
Yeah.
grab like a bottle of soda water, and that's fine. So Jackson was being a freak, but I didn't like how when she's going through the rummaging through the strawberries, she was touching all of them, but she only had one little
Yeah.
small thing, and that got filled up. And then she's put the strawberries on top of the other fruit, and it's like, why are you doing that, babe? Like, get a bag. Like, what? How is moving them from here to like over on top of the bananas going to help me? Like, think
Also, just
properly.
pick up a box. You need that many. Just pick up the entire box.
That's what I thought she would have done,
Yeah.
like smelt them and rubbed them, but then picked up the
Yeah.
entire box because they're doing a bloody wedding, not like just
Yeah.
grabbing handfuls. I think, but Jackson is immature, though.
Oh yeah.
Like, Jackson's a very immature man. So I'm on
But they were
Suki's side.
they were both inflexible in different ways, and in a way that kind of shows why they were maybe drawn to each other a little bit
Mm.
because they both have that inflexibility, but they're inflexible in different ways. So that could have either gone two ways. It could have brought out the best in them both or the worst in them both, which is interesting.
Yeah,
But
because
like,
I
wait,
oh
we should probably say what happens in the scene. Like,
oh
for
we're
anyone
just
watching
like
is
there's
very
some
confused.
strawberries.
Yeah, basically, like she wants to make a strawberry shortcake, right? Jackson comes and he's like, I brought you blueberries. The strawberries weren't good enough, so I brought you blueberries. And she's like, but I'm making strawberry shortcake. I need strawberries. And then later in the episode, she finds more strawberries, and then he gets mad at her for buying someone else's strawberries.
Yeah, which is yeah, that's crazy because I just like that
Yeah.
just wouldn't really happen in
No.
hospitality. But I like whenever they butt heads because I
Mm.
feel like that's their dynamic. They're butting heads, but it's never really that serious. And I think both of them kind of enjoy it. I mean, he runs away at the end, be like, Sookie, I can't believe you. And she's like running after him. But
Yeah.
and that scene to me, I mean, they're all meant to be like what, 32 when this is going on. And that scene to me, it's like little kids running up the street. But it's kind of like it's kind of sweet in that way though, you know?
Sometimes you want to be with someone who brings out that like not necessarily childish side of you, but the childlike side of you that lets you have fun and be immature and just like be silly, you know? Which is nice.
I totally agree. Like the best relationships with people, romantic or otherwise, are if you can just like be silly with someone and not be so uptight and adult and blur all the time, you know?
That's what I love about Kieran. Like he is the silliest person I know. Like he's as silly as me. And like I said to him when we were first dating, I was like, you don't think I'm immature, do you? Like, do you think I'm too silly? And he was like, are you kidding? That's why I love you. And I was like, oh. Plus he was like, there's no one else I can be this silly with. And I was like, yeah, it's quite nice, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the same in my relationship too. He's weirder than me, but he doesn't seem it. So you wouldn't believe that he actually is, but of course he is, because he's got to be weird to be with me in the first place, you know? So
Kieran's exactly the same. Like when you meet him, he's so like soft-spoken and quiet, and everyone thinks he's quite sensible. And I'm like, no, you should see him when we're alone. He is the silliest person. He's great. He'll do like silly voices for Kyra, or he'll pick up like a stuffed bear of mine and like make it dance or do a voice or something. I'm like, I love it.
Yeah, those are definitely the best relationships to have. And like even, you know, with my friendships, my closest friendships are the ones where we can just like be stupid, you know, just be totally stupid, just make silly voices and watch stuff and just be idiots. Those are the best type of, you know, because it's showing, well, it's a type of vulnerability, isn't it? But it's funny though, because we all get like that. I mean, I reckon even like the hardest people on earth probably have a little bit of a silly side to them, you know, because everyone's got to have a nap occasionally, and naps are a bit daft.
Oh, I love a nap.
I love a nap too, but it's a bit like, oh, just gotta go for a little nap. Do you? Do you know what I mean? Just gotta have a little like 30 minutes during the day. Like everyone goes to sleep, and everyone, we're all human. I think even the artist people, they've got to have like something.
Okay, but Andrew Tate, Just Pearly Things, Myron Gaines, are they ever silly? Or did they take themselves too seriously and that's why they're miserable all the time?
I'm thinking really hard about that. I can't imagine it. There are some people, if you think of them, I can imagine that they are like, they have a really big silly side. Like, I imagine, you know, the actor Pedro Pascal.
Yeah.
I imagine he's like just a big silly Billy. Yeah, so I
only know him because you've spoken about him so much.
Yeah, okay. So I've been really into a TV show called Narcos for everyone that's interested. And he's in it. But the person for me, this is off topic from Gilmore Girls. Imagine going from Gilmore Girls to Narcos about Pablo Escobar and the cocaine cartels. The person who steals the show for me is the guy, is Wagner Mora. I don't know if I'm even pronouncing that, because like I read Wagner as Wagner, but I don't know. I think he's Brazilian, so I'm not sure if that's even right. The guy that plays Pablo Escobar in Narcos steals the show for me because he's fantastic. He's probably way more charismatic than the real Pablo Escobar was. I did a podcast with should be out by the time this is out, with a journalist about all of this stuff, and he said that, well, a lot of these people are just so boring in real life. They have to almost be like cocaine cartel, like drug lords, to be a bit interesting. But that's too off topic. Yeah, people like that. I don't know, because like, what about Piers Morgan? Do you reckon Piers Morgan is just a little bit silly?
I reckon he can have a giggle sometimes.
Well, because I think that
it's probably like he laughs at poor people, but that's his idea of fun, you know?
I think, and this is a really big thing to say, but I don't believe that Piers Morgan really exists. I think that he's playing a character. Oh, not as in like he's fake, right. Like he's a clone or something. No. Like I think he exists, but I think Piers Morgan is a character. I don't think he believes half the stuff that he says, but that's because most people in that industry and in politics don't believe. I've met enough of them. They don't believe half the shit that they peddle out there. That's all we'll get into with that. Right. Yeah, I think to an extent, but I don't know. Like, I'm trying to think of who to say who could be silly without it just being incredibly controversial. Like my head just went to, do you reckon Saddam Hussein was ever a bit silly?
Well, we all know Hitler liked painting dogs, so
Well, I
even
thought
he
Hitler
probably
as
had
well,
that
but I
side.
thought, oh, maybe that's like too far though. I
No,
mean,
because like he was a human. He was a terrible human, but he was still a human, so he probably did have those moments. Just weird to think about. I think in some ways, like they're controversial things to say and think about and talk about because we almost don't want to humanize these terrible, terrible people because that makes it all the more real and scary, the awful things they did, realizing that someone just like us did those horrible things.
but
You know?
that's so important though, because
Yeah.
I don't like when because I don't even really like the term humanized, and this is so off topic
Mhm.
from what we were talking about, but I've been mulling over this for a while because I've been thinking of things. I've been, thinking a bit about Philip Schofield, and I think that he's going to be back on TV in a few months. No one's going to give a shit, right? I think it's funny because I thought all these thoughts about Matt Hancock and I Am a Celebrity, and then I went to a gig of someone called Simon Brodkin, and he had this like joke, and I was just like, this is what I've been thinking of, man. Like we're on the same wavelength. He had this whole bit about Matt Hancock caused the deaths of people in England, like,
Mhm.
and he put these policies through that also inadvertently caused deaths and made people's mental health worse, and you weren't allowed to like go see your dying nan at the hospital, but he was shagging someone who wasn't his wife.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Sorry, that was Kyra grumbling in the bathroom if you could hear that.
um yeah, was shagging someone that wasn't his wife. And then he goes on I Am a Celebrity, and people see that, surprise, surprise, he's a human fucking being. So he's going to have moments of vulnerability, of sadness, of laughter, whatever. He's going to have a few moments where
Mhm.
he's going to make a joke and it's not going to be the worst thing you've ever heard, right?
Yeah.
And people see that and go, oh, he's all right, actually. And so the idea of like
Mm.
humanization annoys me because it's like, but you should know that Hitler was a human, and Saddam Hussein and Bin Laden, like all of these people, the worst
Yeah.
dictators, they're all humans, and the Nazis were humans too. And guess what? You have the if you were born in Nazi Germany, shit. I think Jordan Peterson said that. I think that comes from a Jordan Peterson lecture. Like before he went off the deep end, I used to watch like some of his psychology stuff, and he
Are
said
you
that
a
like
secret Jordan Peterson fan? Do we need to have words?
I liked Jordan Peterson, but literally before it was like the cool thing for men to do so. Because I liked he did this whole psychological significance of the Bible series,
Mm.
and he did like some other psychology. So I would listen to those, and he had this whole thing about Carl Jung's shadow of self, how you should know your own capabilities. And I agree with that kind of stuff. I agree that you should know what you're capable of, because if you know what you're capable of, if you know your capacity to do bad things, then you can actively stop yourself from doing bad things. Because I don't
Mhm.
think when it comes to fiction, to have heroes do the right thing because it's the right thing with no other thought to go into it isn't compelling at all. And that's why I think villains are often way more compelling than heroes are in fiction, because the best villains are the ones who you can understand their point and you know where they're coming from, but they're just going about it in a really extreme way. So yeah, Jordan Peterson said something along the lines of if you were born in Nazi Germany, most likely you would have been a Nazi and gone along with it as well.
Well, yeah, especially if you didn't know any better,
Yeah.
you know?
And groupthink and the paranoia, and you're worried about your neighbor. What was it in Jojo Rabbit, the Gestapo? I really have you seen Jojo Rabbit?
I started it. I think I fell asleep. Shut your down, baby.
It's a good film. It's
Yeah.
directed by Taika Waititi. It's about World
Mhm.
War II. And like there's a bit of the Gestapo being menacing, and they said something like oh, we get the usual reports. Oh, I think there's a communist behind my fridge, things like that. But that was kind of
Mm.
the attitude of the time
Yeah.
during World War II Germany. And I don't think everyone likes to imagine that they would have been the rebel in the underground rebellion. I would have, right? But the rest of you, no, I'm joking.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know how that has anything to do with Gilmore Girls.
Well, actually, okay, not so much Gilmore Girls, but what we were talking about cults before, like a
Mm.
lot of the leaders in Nazi Germany employed the same kinds of cults. They had the insider outsider mentality. They had the thought control, the behavior control, like all of it. So yeah,
Oh
we're
yeah,
Nazis cult leaders.
yeah.
Makes sense.
I think every political extremist group uh goes through that. goes through the cult behavior. Because I guess even if you look at something as extreme as North Korea, there's like the thought control, the emotional control. You can't be caught saying anything bad about the leader, otherwise you and your family are going to be 3 generations of your family are going to be put in a camp.
Yeah. So I don't really know North Korea like stuff specifically, but like on the like Nazi Germany front, like looking at Stephen Hassan's bite model again, under behavior control, you have stuff like controlling types of clothing and hairstyles, regulating diet. Like that's what they did in the Hitler Youth. They gave them like all the kids like little uniforms and stuff. They sent them away to camps where the amount of sleep they got was controlled, where the food they ate was controlled. They had the whole kinder, I can't remember the German word for it. Basically, it was like children kitchen church, and that's what women had to focus on. And again, so it was focusing on women staying in the home, looking after the kids and taking them to church, restricting leisure, entertainment, and vacation time. All of that stuff is what they did in Nazi Germany, and they started at a really young age with the children. So you can't blame them for going along with it because that's all they knew. They didn't have someone telling them, oh, no, like these are good human beings too. You can't treat them like this. All they heard from every angle was these people bad. We need to eradicate them. They're a threat to you.
Yeah, and anyone that did speak out against it was killed. So you have that as well.
They were
and
outsiders too.
Yeah, if you have people you care about, I understand that you're going to want to put the people you care about first over abstract numbers and statistics going up. Everything you just said then about cults, controlling what you eat, how much you eat, your hairstyles, vacation time, that can all be applied to modern day armies as well. Like army boot camps for training soldiers in England, in America, whatever. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I think like a lot of this stuff could be applied to armies as well. Like again, look under thought control, right? You've got required members to internalize the group's doctrine as truth. For example, this like the leaders decide between good versus evil, organize people into us versus them. That's what the army does. Like you're trained to see like the enemy as other and outsiders and evil, even if that's not necessarily true. It's kind of scary, isn't it?
I think cult behavior and mentality applies to just almost everything as well. Like, because you can kind of apply it. You could apply it to office work. You have to come in at certain hours, eat at certain hours, have a certain like office attire and hairstyle. Other people are the competition, etc., etc. Even your colleagues are the competition, or can be the competition.
You have to do office chants.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe as a humans, maybe cults are just like our normal way of
being. Natural state.
Maybe, because like, why are they so prevalent throughout so many different facets of society, if not, No, I don't know where I'm going with that. I just kept thinking of, well, look at the bees. Bees are communists, right? So you don't see bees, like you don't see one of them trying to hoard all the honey and trying to sell it but pay the workers peanuts. You don't see like bees trying to be capitalists because they are.
But you do get some species who are more capitalist than others.
Do you?
Oh yeah.
What, of bees?
Like no, not bees, just of animals.
No, like, well, that's what I meant. I meant like specifically bees, because bees are communists, so they're not trying to be something else. So I just think like if our species keeps reverting to cult behavior, what's that saying really? Like, why is it everywhere you look?
Well, the other thing we have to consider is not just how many of these points does it check off, but like to what extent is it checking them off? So just doing one of these things madly doesn't make you a cult. You need to have like hit a certain number of them and be doing them to a certain extent. So it's like it's the same with poison, The poison is in the dose, they say. So the same substance that can save your life can also kill you if you take too much or not enough of it. It's in the dose. And it's the same with these things. Like asking someone to change their hairstyle for a job might not be controlling, but telling people, in order to live here and survive, you need to have X, Y, and Z hairstyle, that maybe is more cult-like. So again, it comes down to maybe humans just have it in us to want to control the people around us and the society that we live in, but just doing that a little bit doesn't make something a cult. I don't know.
Humans are, by and large, I would say, very controlling, because you see it everywhere. I'm sure, and every single person, I think, struggles with being a little bit controlling, whether that's trying to force your ideology onto someone else, or I'm sure there are things that I'm like a little bit controlling. I don't know what am I currently controlling about. No, I'm perfect. But I'm like, what? Why is the human condition to try to control everything around us? Is it just try to have? Is it because we like order and we like patterns, and we're trying to maintain some semblance of,
Maybe.
not semblance of control, but some semblance of belief that we are ultimately in control of ourselves, even though we know we're not really actually.
Maybe it's just something that comes with sentience. So,
Hmm.
like, because you get other sentient animals that exert control over others. You
Hmm.
know, look at like lions, for example. Lions and their prides, they definitely have these like hierarchies, right? You know, the women are
Hmm.
basically in charge. And then if a man is around, he's just kind of there on the edges to protect everyone. But generally, the women eat first, then the kids, and then the man, I think.
Hmm.
Right? Or it's something like that. I can't remember. It's a while since I read about lions. But they have their hierarchies. And if you don't stick to certain rules, you're kicked out. The males, when they reach a certain age, are kicked out. They have to go find their own pride and stuff like that. They fight within each other to be like who's on top, who's the alpha, who's, you know, doing
Hmm.
that sort of thing. So it's not like it's just humans that have this need to control others and come up with hierarchies and do all that stuff. Like you see it in lots and lots of animals. Maybe
Yeah,
you'll get a
it's
certain dominance over me. You know?
oh, well, like dogs are very manipulative, and people just don't even, people think, oh, well, we're the master of. I hate that word, master, for like dogs, like they're servants. They're not. But dogs are incredibly manipulative because they've had hundreds of thousands of years of learning that if they make cute faces, we do everything for them. We pick up their shit, we take them for walks, we clean them, we keep them healthy, we feed them. Realistically, what do they do in return? They look cute for us. Like it's like dogs have the because people think that cats are like really cunning and smart. No, like dogs have got it made. They just make some cute faces and we're here bending over backwards for them and loving them. And I wouldn't change it, but
There's an argument to be made that we didn't domesticate dogs, dogs domesticated us.
I've heard that, but for cats. And I've also heard that for wheat, as in wheat that gets made into grain. Yeah, I think in Sapiens, I think Yuval Noah Harari puts
Mm.
forth an argument that wheat domesticated humans because wheat wanted to be grown. Probably butchering that. He might not have even said that, but it's
Mm.
definitely in a book I read about humans once. Bless
Sorry.
you.
Thank you. Um, okay, I'm not sure I believe it for the wheat,
Mm.
but dogs I definitely see. I'm not sure about cats either, maybe, but we'll see. But like, think about it. They were like, okay, well, we won't eat you. We'll stick around and protect you, and in return, you give us a warm place to sleep by the fire and scraps of food whenever we want it. Like, it was a good deal.
Yeah, I think wolves saw hunter-gatherers, saw after hunter-gatherers would eat, there'd always be carcasses and scraps left nearby, started thieving some of that, and in turn, hunter-gatherers noticed that when the wolves were nearby, other predators weren't. So then, because wolves, I don't know how many years wolves lives, but it's not as long as humans, they would obviously prefer and give food to the ones who are nicer, and then that in turn evolution in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I think it was a joining, it was a
Yeah,
mutually beneficial for everyone. But modern day
absolutely.
dogs have it absolutely figured out because like most dogs are not guard dogs. Like they're not going to protect you. Like a husky's not going to protect your house. A husky is probably going to like go off with the stranger. Huskies are just
This
loud, man. um
this one's protected me, haven't you, baby? You're my little savior.
yeah, she has.
She's a good girl. See, you earned your food and board, right?
In it. Is there anything else to note about Gilmore Girls?
Gilmore Girls. I wish this episode had more Luke, but the small Luke scene we had, I thoroughly enjoyed.
Yeah, where he complains about golf courses.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I
a
agree.
small one, but a nice one. I like Luke. I think my thing for every Gilmore Girls episode is going to be needs more Luke. You can never really have too much Luke.
Yeah. I agree, because it was very brief. I also noted, I don't know what I've said about Drella before in the other two, because I changed my mind every single day about stuff. But I decided in this episode that I don't really like Drella, the harpist. She's playing a harp, right? Yeah, it's a harp. It's a harp.
Yeah.
Just because I don't know, it's just like she's so aggy. Like, why are you aggy? You get to sit around playing an instrument all the time as if this is like the medieval ages, and you get like paid on top of that.
Kind of, but that whole thing she was saying about like, oh, like it's my music, my art. I just have to like feel where it takes me, and then like I'll give you an extra $100, and she's like, I'm your jukebox. Like, yeah, that's how professional musicians work.
Yeah, I did
great
like
and everything,
that bit.
but they need to pay the bills.
I did like that bit, but just in general, she's just a bit too aggy for like this type of show. So I don't know, maybe if they were just still trying to work out what kind of characters they wanted.
Yeah.
Oh, and the ending. So I mean, I liked when, Rory and Lorelai make up at the wedding, and Rory's like, thank you for not putting me one of those dresses, because the little kid is being reprimanded for not like, for getting her pretty dress all dirty or whatever. I thought that was a really nice moment, but then the episode ends with Richard showing Rory some pretentious book. I looked it up as well, and it looks kind of pretentious. I'm just low-key slating this like old dead dude's work. He goes off, and they go off together, and then Emily's like, oh, I want to see as well, and they leave Lorelai alone in the entertainment room, or whatever it's called. They leave her alone, and then that's how the episode ends. And I always thought, oh, that's sad. I mean, yeah, it's mean and sad, and she's being left out again, and I don't know.
Yeah, for me, that was Emily rubbing Lorelai's face in it, being like, see, Rory's conforming to our ideas. Why can't you? If you conformed, you'd be a part of this too. That's what she was saying in my eyes, and I didn't like it.
Yeah, I just didn't like that end on a sad note, because I think it would have been nicer if it ended with like them at the wedding, after they'd made up. That would have been a more classical Hollywood type of ending for the episode. But yeah.
But we got the return of Kirk with swans this time, although his character wasn't named in this one.
No, and he was being aggy as well. She was like, is this 20 swans? And he was like, sure, why not? He wasn't being Kirk, because Kirk would have been more funny,
helpful. Yeah. No, well, he'd have tried to be helpful. Whether he would have managed it or not is another question.
He's a little simp for Lorelai, though.
Oh yeah,
like he loves Lorelai, and the whole thing about Michelle doesn't like the swans because once he was attacked by swans, and that's like kind of played off as comic relief, which sure, but at the same time it's like
they are dangerous.
Like, do Americans not know that swans are so aggy, so aggressive? They will attack you. They will like run after you.
They've broken people's limbs before. They're that strong.
Yeah.
I think I have like a short on YouTube about the dangers of swans.
They are so territorial, and in England they still are protected, I would assume, but they got protected status because the Queen liked them so much. So swans could just menace entire communities, and you can't do anything. I mean, I don't think you should go kill
Except
a swan
when
anyway.
This one's around. A swan tried to sneak up on her once, and it was huge compared to her. And it was only like a couple months after I first stopped her, and it was sneaking up, and I was like, Kyra, and she just turned around and let out this one deep bark, like a woof, and the swan just turned around and shot. And I was like, "There's my girl. There's my girl."
Good. Oh, that's good, because otherwise that could have been a disaster.
I know,
swans are like kind of evil, man. So I understand Michelle not wanting to be near the swans.
I did get attacked by a swan myself once as well.
Really?
And it was like chasing after me, and it had hold my scarf, and it was pulling at it, and come jump down, baby. And there's just there's this photo somewhere, I'll send it to you afterwards, but it's like my sister's there laughing at me, and I'm like literally falling over as the swan's like coming at me with these big wings. Yeah, it was scary.
Yeah, see, it's no good. Don't trust them.
I think it's on Facebook. But yeah, no, they're little, not little terrors, they're big terrors. Horrible little things. Big things. Words are hard.
Gits.
Yes. And swans. This was the day. When was it? 13th of June 2019.
What, you got chased by swans then? That's not that long ago. That's only 4 years ago.
Oh god, 4 years.
Yeah,
I was like, yeah, it's only last year.
2019. Like, you were an adult at that point. I'm sure you could have held your own off against a swan. Swan
Never
comes
seen the
near
size
me,
of it.
I'm gonna headbutt it. The veganism's gonna go out the window. Swan comes. I'm joking. I would run away crying. That's it. We did the third episode. We did it.
Good job. Good good podcasting.
Yeah, decent, not bad. We're gonna have to move on to episode 4, which we will do as soon as we feel like it, basically.
Yeah, very much. Be soon, probably, maybe. We'll see.
We'll see. Not fussed either
Yeah.
way. Thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you do enjoyed it. Let us know what you think of the episode in the comments below. Would love to hear your thoughts and chats of parallels and all that stuff.
Also, let us know what you think of rich people doing rich people things on TV because I dislike it.
Yeah, and let us know if you think that humans are just all secret cult leaders.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's
Also,
really going
was
on.
Hitler human? We don't know. Asking the big questions. Is Piers Morgan real?
Yeah, maybe avoid Hitler chat because I don't want to be I don't want my channel flagged for talking about Hitler. Because like YouTube went through that phase of your channel got flagged if you talked about even like fun conspiracy theories.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they get a bit like touchy about certain subjects. Not sure why.
Well, we're not talking about that conspiracy that like Hitler lives under the earth yet.
I've not heard that. I heard that he lives in the Antarctic.
Oh no, so he was searching for the inside world. Like there's another world under our Earth's crust, and there's a hole in a world in there, and the entrance to it is in the Antarctic. So he fled to the Antarctic, and now he's living below the Earth's crust in this second world.
See, I was going to make 2 and 2 equal 4 then because I don't even talk to me about the hollow earth theory because like people want to talk about flat earth, behave. I've been believing in hollow earth since I was 15, mate. I do know that yeah, you can get through to the hollow earth within from the North Pole and the South Pole. At the 2 poles, there's tunnels and stuff, and apparently there's all sorts of tunnel systems throughout the US where you can also go in because there's a sun inside the earth, and that's also where the reptilians live because it's nice and warm for them.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
we're not going to talk about that in case you get flagged.
yeah, we won't talk too much about that stuff, but Hollow Earth completed it, mate. I know all about Hollow Earth, don't you worry. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let us know if you enjoyed it. Let us know if you want to see more. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on Spotify and iTunes. Give me 5-star on Spotify, not iTunes though, because who cares about Apple, mate? That's all really. Check out Rachel's channel when you can, Rachel Oates, and we'll see you guys soon. Bye.